What's up guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be unboxing everything we need to take this lovely Canon R5, these lenses and a GoPro underwater. If you haven't watched any of my other videos yet, my name is Rob. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm a hobbyist photographer who's been focusing on wildlife lately, along with landscape, aerial and drone photography. I've always loved the beach, and after getting a kayak for the last year and taking it out on creeks, lakes and rivers, it's been an awesome experience for photography and made for some really unique shots. The backstory. So my sister, who's a marine biologist, is always snorkeling or scuba diving and absolutely loves the ocean. After seeing some great photos people are taking both underwater and on the surface, I thought, you know what, it's time to dip my camera, not just my toes, into the water. I almost rushed out and bought an Aquatech housing for my R5 back in January this year. It's now October, as I thought it was a good deal, but then when I started looking at lenses, how to take photos underwater, and to be honest, it all got a little overwhelming at the start and I backed right off. My sister lent me this GoPro Series 4, which is quite old now, but it helped me get out snorkeling a little bit and start understanding how to record things underwater and some of the challenges before I made such a big purchase. So here we are, 3 big boxes. Let's open them all and see what's inside. So I found out there was a sale on Aquatech gear at Aquatic Imaging Australia. I'll put the link in the description. After a lot of back and forth with Vanessa, who's a very experienced saleswoman there, who helped me understand what I needed, I placed an order for this kit. The cost was around $3,165 Australian, which is about $2,040 US at the time of making this video, and the delivery was free. So here we've got the actual housing. This is probably the most expensive component. I did opt for a grey colour rather than bright orange, which also comes in, because I did read online that some people thought or believe it would show in the reflections of the video or the photos that you're taking. It has got a bit of weight to it. It is certainly heavy, and that's all there is in the box. So it looks very well made. It's got 2 catches at the top, which we'll look at in more detail, and it does have a bracket in here. I can see that says R5/R6, so I'm guessing they would work for both those models. Alright, let's put that to the side. Alright, what's next? This is a dome port protector. I did get a dome port for the Aquatech housing, and I'm told it scratches easily, so you want to protect that. And next is the actual casing pouch. So you put the casing in here when you haven't got a port attached, or if you've got a small port that'll fit in there, and that'll protect the whole thing. I'll probably put all of this in a bag anyway, but that's just to prevent little scratches and dings. Alright, next we have 2 sets of port covers. One goes on the front of the lens port and one goes on the back. There's 2 sets there. That should be enough for what I've bought, and we'll go into that in a minute. Alright, so here we've got a lens leash. Now you can probably buy similar things at a surf store or something like that, like you buy for a surfboard or a bodyboard. I did just get the Aquatech one because it's on brand and it's designed for it. So my sister actually had her camera fall off her wrist when she was on a dive last year. She had a Olympus TG5, which is a lot lighter than this housing. Sometimes when you're in deep water too, it's easy to lose track of where you are, and if it falls off, it might be quite hard to find and retrieve again. So cheap insurance. Next is probably the smallest box we've got here, which is a GoPro mount. So this mounts on top of the camera housing and allows me in theory to attach this little guy on the top to get video if I'm shooting photos on my camera. This is the 8-inch PD100 Aquatech dome port. This was recommended to me for split shots, and it allows you also to add extensions for slightly different sizes of lens, but normally on this you'll be putting wide lenses to get a good effect for split shots or taking lots of light underwater. I'll open that up. Okay, so that's what it looks like there. Next is the M3 Aquatech pistol grip. I wasn't sure if I needed this to begin with. This is something Vanessa recommended, but if I'm going to be shooting surf photography or surface level photography, it gives you another way to hold the camera housing rather than just on the side handles, and it does have a built-in shutter button on the grip, which is quite handy for shooting photos or videos. So I figured if I'm buying all this kit, I might as well buy this, and it's another way I can learn to hold it and use it, so why not? Next is a 70mm extension port for the lens housing. So this will enable you to add different lengths of lenses and combine them with different lens ports, just to adapt the size that you want for the length of the lens. This feels really good. It's got an O-ring at the back here in blue. It's got a nice beveled edge, kind of like a barbell at the gym. And it's got nice clean threads on the front, which you screw into the other side of the lens port. So this is a side handle kit, and I believe this is for the right hand side as you look at it from the back of the camera housing, and this just gives you a symmetric size on the side handle. Normally the side handle I think on this one is a little bit shorter on the right hand side, and it just gives you some more options for configuring it for your comfort. So you get 2 screws in here, and that's the side handle itself. I'll put that with the camera. Housing. And what's left? Okay, here we've got the 30mm extension lens port, which is similar to the 70. Exactly the same as the 70, just shorter. Oh, I haven't opened the pistol grip, sorry. Let's have a look at that. So that's it there. Looks like it's got a few moving parts and some sort of plastic gasket. And this lever here just reaches up and touches the underneath where there is a electronic shutter button on the bottom of the camera housing on the outside. And last but not least, an actual lens port, not just an extension. So this is the 130, P130. There's some important note in here. Handle lens port only, do not use a tool. To ensure a very tight seal, use both hands at the base of the port. This will compress the port down completely and confidently onto the sport housing front O-ring. There's a lot of instructions here. And that is the first box. So I did want to cover some questions people might have about different types of housings there are for mirrorless camera bodies out there. For example, one is the salty water housings. They look quite good. I really like the design and the colours and the boosted housings, which allow for the battery grip to go inside, so you've got 2 batteries to take. But it didn't seem as easy to install and remove the camera itself from the housing, and it had less range in terms of the ports. Aquatech is another one. It seemed quite expensive and has a bigger focus on diving, which I'm not all about. I'm not diving qualified, although it seems very popular in the diving community. So maybe in a few years, if I do get into scuba diving, that'll be where I progress to. But for now, I'm happy to buy this. Sea Frog is another one. I did look into this quite a bit, either through AliExpress, their official website, or trying to find it through Australian retailers. And even though it looked like a great deal and had a good range of lens ports, online there were some reports of broken dials or components that don't have good support for replacement within Australia. And the main advantage for going with the Sea Frog seemed to be there was a few more buttons on there. It does support a vacuum seal system and has a pressure sensor and can go deeper than 10 meters, which again I'm not about just yet, so it really didn't seem much of an advantage to me. So why didn't I buy any zoom gears for my lenses? So especially for this one, the 16-35, you can get a zoom gear. Unfortunately for the edge housings on the mirrorless bodies, Aquatech only sell the zoom gears for the native camera lenses. So in this case, I'd have to buy a 15-35 f2.8 RF, which is I think about 2,500 or 3,000 Australian, and then the zoom gear on top of that. So it seemed like a big commitment for not a lot of picture quality gain, just a little bit of freedom. And for the time being, I can just adjust the focal length before I go out to 16mm, to 20mm, 24mm, and then compare the results, and it's one less thing I have to think about while I'm learning underwater. So I thought I'd take a moment and talk about what lenses I plan to use underwater and what lenses I've got. So here I've got a Samyang manual focus. It's a 14mm. I actually bought this for landscapes, but because it's such a wide angle and wide aperture, it should be really good underwater, but it is a manual focus, so you have to preset the focus ring to whatever you wanted before you went out in the ocean. And it has got a beautiful round front element. Next I've got the Sigma 35mm 1.4. I label these so I don't have to think about it. This is a beautiful lens. 35mm is great, and f1.4 is nice and shallow for portraits. And here I've got the Sigma 50mm 1.4, very similar to the 35. Next I've got the awesome Canon macro lens, the L series lens, 100mm f2.8. This is a really good lens. I really like it for portraits. I really like it for macro. It is really interesting and it's good for focus stacking. The stabilization on it is really awesome, and it's highly recommended to take this underwater if you want to do macro photography. So that was really important. This is just one I've got for the RF system. All the others have been EF up until now, so I need the adapter on the R series cameras. This is just the 35 f1.8. If I was going to do video, I'd probably look at using this more than the others, just because of the stabilization should be better on the RF system. And lastly, the Canon 16-35 EF IS L f4. Can't believe I remembered all that. This is a really good lens for any sort of landscapes, video, all that kind of stuff. It is an f4, so it's not as fast as the 2.8s, but it is a good size. It's pretty small, and I really like it. So this isn't a lens, but it's very important. This is the Canon EF to RF adapter, which allows you to use the EF lenses on the R series bodies. And it is really important that you manually check the size of the lens and include the size of the lens adapter that's going onto the camera will be enough to fit within the lens ports that you've bought, because all the measurements that Aquatech give you are for the RF lenses on the RF body without the adapter. The adapter itself is about 24mm, so if you add that to the actual size of the lens, measuring to the tip of the base, then you should be good. And lastly, it doesn't seem like it should be an underwater lens, but I've got the Canon 100 to 500 on here. One of the reasons I bought into the Aquatech line of housings was because of the lens port range. So I did buy in the next box quite a big lens port. Let's get that out now. So I was keen to get the P215 lens port, which is, I think, the longest port that Aquatech or anyone make for a underwater housing system. And I did find it half price from another store. And this was a key factor in choosing the Aquatech brand, because I do have plans, call me crazy, of taking this guy into an underwater housing, either for split shots or surface level wildlife photography. And this is it. So it is quite long. When I looked at the measurements, this lens would fit inside this, although only when retracted. The same instructions for the lens ports. There we go. There's definitely some plastic on the front here to protect it initially. You can just peel that off. It does feel quite nice. I can't tell if it's metal or not. I think it's all plastic, but it's like a solid polycarbonate plastic. And as you can see, if I take the lens hood off, the moment of truth, I would say it doesn't quite fit it. But that is the whole point of getting these guys. So my thinking is that that will fit. And if I even add this guy as well, I should be able to zoom up to maybe 300mm or maybe 400mm to get some really good zoom. There are around for mirrorless camera systems. So I did forget to mention the price of this. I got this from camerapro.com.au for 199 Australian dollars, which is about $130 US, and delivery was $9 Australian, which is about $5 US. Alright, let's look at the last box. So this has nothing to do with my camera lenses or ports. This is a waterproof dive bag. I do have a small waterproof bag that you can fold over and clip, but it doesn't make it very easy to get things in and out of. So I wanted something that would hold either my camera or my housing, if the camera's in the housing, if I'm going into the water. I do prefer buying Australian-made goods if possible, and I found these guys on eBay and it seemed like a good deal for 2 separate bags, and it means I could also do an overnight kayak somewhere and bring camping gear with me without worrying about it getting wet. So I got it from these guys, outcamp.com.au, outcamp10 for 10% off. Let's look at the bags. So there are 2 sizes here, the 46 and the 60. All up, they cost me 135 Australian, which is about 87 US, and delivery was free. I got them from eBay. I'll put a link in the description, or you can buy them direct from their website. And they also have these straps at the back, so you can carry them on your back and hike with them. So they've got a strap here, 2 straps there, and a waterproof zip in the middle. This one looks like the bigger one, the 60. This one here, which is a really good size for my kayak, must be the 46. So they've got some maintenance grease here. Straps again, and a little cross strap. And obviously I can see a little bit of grease on the waterproof zip, so that's what that maintenance grease is probably for. And this looks absolutely perfect. And this looks absolutely perfect and this looks really good for getting this going here. Look at that. Awesome. The bag itself looks really well made, nice and thick. I like the colour, and it's got a grab handle at the top as well. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please ask in the comments if you have any questions on any of the lenses, any of the camera housing stuff that I bought, dive bags, or any of the gear, and I'll try my best to answer you. I really want to share this information with people because these are some of the questions I had wanting to buy a Aquatech housing. I am glad I bought it, and I'm glad all the parts fit, but it was quite a challenge to get all the specs right and make sure I didn't buy things that I didn't need. So if you've made it to the end, please stay tuned. I've got some drone footage coming up that's quite relaxing to watch, and please like the video and subscribe for more of the same. Thanks for watching.